Welcome back, everyone, to the wisdom of Lao Tzu.
Great to be back. So, last time we were exploring the Tao, this incredibly vast, ungraspable idea, and, the wisdom of looking to the past to understand the present, which, well, leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? If the Tao is so formless, what does someone who actually embodies it look like,
Yeah.
here in the real world? Because let's face it, we tend to admire leaders who are, well, decisive, charismatic, efficient, the ones who shine.
Right, the ones with the clear vision, the spotlight present.
Exactly. But what if a true master showed up looking different, maybe hesitant or wary, kind of withdrawn, even a bit murky?
Can we even recognize that kind of wisdom if it doesn't fit our, modern hero template?
That's the challenge Lao Tzu throws down, I think. He knew that after talking about the ultimate mystery, he had to give us something tangible, something human. So in chapter 15, he does something really remarkable. No more rules, no abstract lists.
He paints a picture.
Yes. He paints this incredible portrait. With this real reverence, he describes these ancient masters who were truly in tune with the Tao. He's basically asking us to look past our templates, see a different kind of mastery. So let's start by just hearing the words. I'm going to read chapter 15 using D.C. Leo's translation. It's quite poetic. Read slowly and clearly.
Of old, the best among the officers of state were subtle, mysteriously powerful, profound, and penetrating. Their depth was something that could not be known. It is because it could not be known that I can only give a makeshift description. Hesitant, as if fording a river in winter. Wary, as if in fear of all neighbors. Demure, as if a guest. Tenuous, as if on the point of melting. Plain, as if uncarved wood. Open, as if a valley. Murky, as if turbid water. Who can be at rest, and yet stirring, slowly come to life? One who keeps the way desires not to be full. It is because he is not full.
Okay, so Lao Tzu kicks things off describing these ancient masters. He calls them subtle, mysteriously powerful, profound, and penetrating. And then the key line, their depth was something that could not be known.
When I first read that, it really struck me. It's so different from how we, especially in the West, often think about leadership.
Yeah, completely.
We tend to value, clarity, being decisive, someone pointing the way forward, almost like a general. So unknowable. Oh, it sounds kind of vague, maybe even elusive.
Right. But what's so fascinating here is that this unknowability, it isn't presented as a weakness at all. It's actually a completely different kind of strength. Think about an experienced sea captain navigating this huge, unpredictable ocean.
Okay.
That captain isn't shouting orders at every single wave, right? They're not trying to micromanage the ripples.
No.
Instead, they're feeling the deep currents, sensing the pulse of the wind. They're attuned to the profound underlying forces, the Tao, the way of things.
So the master's depth comes from that attunement to the whole, not from trying to control every little detail. It's related to that concept of wu-wei.
Which isn't just doing nothing, right?
Exactly. It's not idleness. It's more like acting with such a subtle alignment with things that it allows situations to just flourish naturally. Like good soil lets seeds grow without forcing them. It's guiding by enabling.
Okay, let's unpack that. Because if their inner world, their depth, is truly unknowable, how are we supposed to understand them? How do we learn from that?
Well, Lao Tzu anticipates that. He basically says, look, because it's unknowable, I can only give a makeshift description.
Makeshift, I like that.
Yeah. And then he gives us this series of incredible metaphors, almost paradoxical ones. Each one is like a little clue, a little window into their behavior.
All right, let's follow the clues. The first one he gives is hesitant, as if fording a river in winter. Now, that immediately makes me think of, well, being timid or maybe scared, like someone afraid to step onto thin ice. Is that it?
It sounds like that initially, but no, that's not quite it. It's not about fear. It's about extreme prudence. Imagine a top-level negotiator right at the critical moment of a huge deal.
Okay, yeah.
They're weighing every single word, thinking through every possible consequence before they make a move. It's caution born from a really deep understanding of the complexity involved, not timidity.
So it's a carefulness that comes from seeing all the interconnected parts, the potential ripples.
Precisely. Which leads nicely into the next one, actually. Wary, as if in fear of all neighbors.
Okay. Again, my first reaction is, that sounds like paranoia. Like, why would this enlightened master be afraid of everyone around them?
And again, it's not paranoia in our modern sense. It's more like a profound reverence for interconnectedness. Think of a brilliant ecologist. They know that changing one tiny thing in an ecosystem
can have huge unforeseen effects.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Chain reactions. The master acts with that same kind of deep awe for their surroundings. They understand that everything is connected, everything influences everything else. So wary here means acting with deep respect for those connections, for how things emerge and affect each other.
Okay, so it's prudence and then this deep respect for connections. Then Lao Tzu throws another curveball. Demurrer, as if a guest. Now, in our culture, being the host usually means you're in charge, you set the rules, right? Being a guest sounds passive.
Well, think about what a good guest does. They're respectful of the host's space, they're humble, they don't try to dominate or take over.
Sure.
The master moves through the world like that, not imposing their will, but sort of gracefully integrating into whatever situation they're in. This goes back to Wu Wei again.
Right.
That non-coercive action. It's not about being passive, but about acting without initiating in a forceful way, allowing others to act self-so, as the text says.
Okay.
Kind of like fertile ground allows a seed to sprout on its own terms.
It's a guiding presence, not a controlling one. I get it. Okay, next clue. Tenuous, as if on the point of melting. This one sounds like weakness, like fragility.
But here's where it gets really interesting. This isn't about fragility. It's about flexibility, adaptability. It actually mirrors the essence of the Tao itself, which is so often compared to water.
Right, water is soft, yielding.
But it can wear away the hardest rock over time, right? So the master doesn't cling rigidly to fixed ideas or forms. They adapt. They flow with changing circumstances. Like ice melting, it can fit any container, any shape, and eventually rejoins the larger body of water. It's about being in harmony with change, never shattering because they can yield.
That's a powerful image. Yielding without breaking. Okay, and then plain, as if uncarved wood. This feels like a direct challenge to our modern world, doesn't it? With all the focus on packaging, personal branding, looking polished.
Absolutely. Think about an uncarved block of wood. You see its natural texture, its essential quality, its inherent beauty.
It's authenticity.
Exactly. The master's strength lies in that authenticity, in simplicity. It doesn't need external decoration or exaggeration. It connects to this Taoist idea of an original, untouched state, pure potential before we slap labels on things. Their power is in that raw, simple reality.
No need for fancy packaging. I like that. And then open, as if a valley. This one seems a bit more straightforward.
On the surface, maybe.
Yeah.
But think deeper. What does a valley do? It contains everything, right? Wind, streams, sounds, creatures.
Without judging them.
Precisely. It just holds them. The master's mind is like that. Open. Receptive to all possibilities, all viewpoints, without prejudice. Because it's empty in that profound sense. It can hold everything. There's this idea of the spirit of the valley, an empty center that paradoxically allows for productive order. It embraces all without being filled or defined by any one thing. It's just boundless receptivity.
Boundless receptivity, okay? And the last one, the seventh metaphor. Murky, as if turbid water. This one feels like the toughest. Murky. Why would a master be murky? It sounds unclear. Confused, even.
Yeah, it definitely challenges our usual association of leadership with clarity. But think about it this way. Isn't chaos often the beginning of creation?
Like the primordial soup idea.
Sort of. Before the Big Bang, wasn't everything this kind of, well, chaotic, turbid mix? This murkiness isn't a lack of clarity in the negative sense. It's more like a state that's pregnant with infinite potential. It's not yet defined, not yet settled into a final form, so anything could emerge from it. It's a depth full of possibility, not just confusion. And, this leads right into how Lao Tzu kind of resolves this apparent contradiction. He follows up the murky water image with two brilliant rhetorical questions.
Right.
He asks, who can be turbid and yet settling, slowly become limpid? Who can be at rest and yet stirring, slowly come to life?
So the murkiness isn't the final state. It's something that can settle.
Exactly. And this points to the master's unique gift. They don't rush for quick, superficial answers or clarity. They have the patience, the profound patience, to let a complex situation, the turbid water, just evolve naturally.
You let the mud settle, basically.
Right. They allow the sediment, all the confusing details, the swirling emotions, to slowly settle down. And then, eventually, the truth of the situation, the clear water, reveals itself. Their stillness isn't just sitting around doing nothing. It's like a leopard, perfectly still, poised in silence, gathering energy before that perfectly timed strike. It's allowing the moment to become ripe.
Waiting for the right time.
Yes, and that emphasis on timeliness is huge in Taoism, not just philosophically, but practically. In ancient China, it was seen as a crucial duty of the ruler to establish the calendar, to ensure things happened at the right time.
Like planting and harvesting.
Exactly, but also administrative things, rituals. It was about aligning human activity with the natural rhythms of the world, acting when the moment is right, not forcing things before their time. It's a deep sense of timing. And this all culminates in what might be the core wisdom of the chapter. Lao Tzu says, "One who keeps the way desires not to be full. It is because he is not full that he can be worn and not new made."
Wow. Okay, that's a paradox right there.
Yeah.
Desires not to be full. What does that mean?
Think of a cup. If it's already full to the brim with water,
You can't put anything else in it.
right, but an empty cup, it has infinite potential to receive. The master, in this sense, never allows themselves to be completely filled up by achievements, by knowledge, even by a fixed sense of who they are. They maintain this state of, let's call it emptiness, which really means being humble, open, always ready to learn, to adapt, to change. So they are not new-made in the sense of being finished or fixed. They're always becoming.
So worn, but not new made. It sounds like they get old, but somehow stay fresh.
That's a great way to put it. The paradox deepens. They might appear worn, like a comfortable, trusted old coat they have experienced, depth. But precisely because they remain open, remain empty, they can be constantly new-made. They can shed the old when needed, weave a new self, integrate new experiences. They maintain vitality, creativity. It reminds me of another line. What is fullest seems empty, yet using it does not use it up.
Like a well that never runs dry.
Exactly. This enduring quality comes from not being rigid, from embracing the flow. It reflects this Taoist idea that true permanence isn't about resisting change, but about flowing with it. Like a river always changing, yet always the river. Vitality comes from participating in that continuous process.
And we've been, laying out these metaphors from the Tao Te Ching, getting the basic sense of them.
Right? The puzzle pieces are on the table, so to speak.
Yeah.
But today, we really want to dig deeper.
Much deeper. It's about getting to the wisdom behind the words.
Yeah, we're going after some big ideas. What does it mean to be a master when they seem so contradictory? How does change happen from turbid to limpid?
And that final riddle, too, about being worn and not new made, what's that all about?
It's a lot to unpack. Where are we drawing these insights from?
Well, it's a mix. We've got classical commentators, people like Wang Bi, Han King, Suzy, really foundational stuff.
Okay.
And then also modern scholars who are still wrestling with these texts. Think Professor Fu Perong, Zhang Jing, Lu Xiaogan, Michael Lafargue, Hans-Jürgen Mahler. Different perspectives, all adding layers.
Great. So let's get into it. Investigation number 1. This idea of the master being unknowable, even contradictory. Lao Tzu says they're profound, sure, but also hesitant, wary, murky. How does that work? It sounds weak almost.
It really does challenge our usual ideas, doesn't it? But the commentators say this is deliberate. Wang Bi puts it bluntly. Masters are impossible to pin down with a name or shape.
So you can't label them easily.
Exactly. They don't fit into neat boxes. They flow. They adapt. It's not about being indecisive. It's about being incredibly responsive to the moment. Think of water, not a rock.
Okay, water makes sense as a metaphor here.
And Zen master Han King adds something interesting. He says those external traits, the seeming hesitation or wariness, they come from an inner state, an empty, unattached mind.
Empty and unattached, meaning...
Meaning they're not driven by ego or rigid plans or the need to prove anything. Their actions are. Well, they arise naturally from the situation itself. That's why they can seem subtle, even paradoxical from the outside.
Right, so it's not weakness. It's a kind of freedom from needing to appear strong in a conventional way. I know Professor Fu Perong tries to categorize these qualities. He talks about threefold wisdom.
Yes, that's a really helpful framework. He breaks it down.
So the first one is survival wisdom. This is the hesitant as if fording a winter river and wary as if fearing neighbors. What's the wisdom there? Sounds like fear.
It does sound like fear, but Fu Perong interprets it as profound caution, prudence. It's recognizing that the world can be complex, even dangerous. It's not being paralyzed by fear, but moving carefully, respectfully, understanding the potential risks. Like crossing a frozen river, you test the ice. You don't just charge across.
Okay, deliberate caution, not reactive fear. Got it. What's the next one?
Interaction wisdom. This is where the master is demure as if a guest, and tenuous as if melting.
Demure, as if a guest. So humility.
Humility, absolutely. And adaptability in how they relate to others. They don't come in dominating the space. They're like a guest, respectful, observant, fitting in rather than taking over. The melting suggests dissolving boundaries, being flexible, not rigid in interactions.
That paints a very different picture of leadership or mastery. And the third?
Inner cultivation wisdom. This is where we get those really intriguing descriptions. Plain as uncarved wood, open as a valley, and murky as turbid water.
Okay, uncarved wood, simplicity, potential, open valley, receptivity. But murky, that one still throws me. Why is murkiness a virtue?
Ah, yes, the murky quality. This is probably one of the most counterintuitive but profound points. It's not about being confused or unclear in your thinking.
No, then what?
It's about tolerance. It's about embracing complexity without needing to constantly judge or categorize everything. Scholar Zhang Jing brings up that old proverb.
And what about the fish?
That's the one. When water is too clear, there are no fish. Think about it. A mind that's too clear, too quick to judge, too insistent on sharp distinctions, good, bad, right, wrong, can actually become sterile. It doesn't allow for nuance, for imperfection, for the messiness of real life.
So the murkiness is actually allowing life to thrive by not being so rigid.
Precisely. It embraces the whole picture, the shades of gray. It echoes chapter 49, remember? To the good I am good, to the not good I am also good. It's a profound inclusivity, a capacity to engage with everything without needing to impose rigid labels. It's tolerance, understanding.
That reframes it completely. It's not intellectual confusion. It's a kind of acceptance of reality's complexity.
Exactly. And Liu Xiaogan is careful to point out this isn't the same as being intentionally secretive or manipulative like some legalist thinkers, say Han Feizi, might advocate for strategic reasons.
Yeah, but that's using ambiguity for power.
The master's unknowability isn't a strategy for control. It's aligned with the natural, flowing, unpredictable way of the Tao itself. It's authentic depth, not a calculated facade.
It runs counter to showing off then.
Completely. Michael Lafargue talks about this as excellence that is not outstanding. True Taoist goodness doesn't need to advertise itself. It's often hidden, just doing its work quietly.
And Mahler's point about the sage being without heart.
Yes, meaning without personal bias or self-interest. They don't operate from their own egoistic heart. Instead, they take the heart of the common people as their own. They merge with the world, remaining objective, natural.
Okay, that really deepens the picture of the master. It's subtle, adaptable, tolerant. Not what you might expect. Which actually leads us perfectly into the second investigation.
The transformation process.
Yeah, Lei's questions. Who can be turbid and settling, slowly become limpid? Who can be at rest and stirring, slowly come to life? How does this change actually happen?
These are, core questions for anyone interested in self-cultivation. Wang Bi and Sheng Gang, looking at this, emphasize the natural way, and the key word they pull out is slowly.
Slowly, not quickly.
Right. Our modern world loves quick fixes, instant results. The Tao Te Ching says, no, that's not how deep change works. A mind that's turbid, agitated, chaotic, full of desires, maybe doesn't become clear, limpid, through some forceful act of will.
How then?
Through stillness, through settling. Like muddy water in a jar, if you just leave it alone, slowly the sediment settles and the water becomes clear. It's a natural process that requires patience and allowing.
So stillness isn't just inaction. It's a condition for clarity to emerge.
Yes. And the same principle applies to the second question. Who can be at rest and stirring, slowly come to life? New energy, new vitality doesn't come from frantic activity or constant pushing. It emerges slowly from a state of deep rest and quiet.
It really pushes back against hustle culture, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It values the quiet, the patient, the organic unfolding. Now, Suzy adds another layer here. He sees these questions partly as a critique.
A critique of what?
Of two flawed extremes. On one side, you have the worldly man, always caught up in the turbid, constant desire, agitation, chasing external things, never finding clarity.
Okay, stuck in the mud, basically.
Right. But on the other extreme, you have the withered ascetic. Someone who achieves stillness, yes, but it's a dead, lifeless stillness. They've become detached, but also unproductive, stagnant.
Ah, so neither extreme is the Taoist ideal.
Correct. The true master, according to Suzy's reading, finds the balance. They can access deep stillness to find clarity, and they can allow genuine vitality and life to emerge from that stillness. It's a dynamic balance.
It makes me think of Myler's images, the valley and the river.
Exactly. The valley is empty, receptive, fertile. The river is flowing, dynamic potential. It's about having that still, empty center that allows for productive outward flow. Lafargue talks about this in self-cultivation too, bringing the busy mind to stillness, letting things integrate before returning to activity. It's a cycle.
Stillness enabling dynamic life.
Okay.
That brings us to the third puzzle, the end of the chapter.
The riddle.
It is because he is not full that he can be. And then the text trails off, or at least commentators complete it differently. What are the main ways people understand this?
Yeah, this line has sparked quite a bit of discussion. There are basically two major schools of thought on how to finish that sentence. Path A comes from older commentators like He Shenggang and also He Shang King. They read it as, it is because he is not full that he can be worn and not new made.
Worn and not new made. What does that mean? Like old clothes?
Sort of, but in a good way. Worn here means endured, time-tested, authentic. Think of something that has proven its worth over time, gained character through use. It's the opposite of new made, which might imply something flashy, superficial, or maybe not yet proven.
So the sage values authenticity and endurance over novelty.
Exactly. Because they are not full, meaning not striving to constantly acquire new things or achievements, they can appreciate and embody this enduring, worn quality. It's like a well-loved, reliable tool for a craftsman versus a brand new, untested gadget. It's about substance.
I like that. There's a depth to it. What's the alternative, path B?
Path B is favored more by modern scholars, people like Chen Gang and Fu Perong. They interpret the missing phrase differently. They read it as, it is because he is not full that he can be worn out and then newly made.
Oh, it sounds quite different. Worn out and then newly made, like regeneration.
Precisely. In this view, the sage, by never desiring to be full, never clinging to past successes or identities, is in a constant state of renewal. They let go of the old, it becomes worn out, and this very emptiness allows for something new to arise. They are continually newly made.
So it connects to that idea from chapter 22.
Exactly. The worn out will be made new. It emphasizes continuous transformation, shedding the old self to allow for regeneration, not being attached to any fixed state.
Wow. Okay, so two really different outcomes from not being full. One emphasizes enduring authenticity. The other emphasizes constant renewal.
They seem different, but notice the common root.
The not being full part.
Yes, that core virtue. One who keeps the way desires not to be full. That's the key takeaway, whichever interpretation of the ending you prefer. It's a deep call to let go of insatiability.
The endless wanting more.
More stuff, more knowledge, more status, more everything. Mahler argues this constant desire for fullness actually spoils our contentment and messes up social harmony. The Tao Te Ching consistently advises avoiding excess, extravagance, and being grandiose.
Prioritizing substance over veneer, as Lafargue puts it.
Right. This idea of not full isn't about being empty in a negative sense. It's about finding balance, completion within, rather than always seeking it through external accumulation or recognition.
That's a huge idea, especially for today.
Yeah. How does this ancient Chinese wisdom actually show up in, say, modern Western life? It might seem like a stretch.
But the parallels are surprisingly strong when you look at what truly effective action looks like. It often embodies this Taoist idea of wu wei.
Wu wei, that's the non-forceful action, right? Not doing nothing, but acting in tune with things.
Precisely. And also that idea of not needing to be full or always new made. Mastery often comes from a more subtle place.
Guiding, not forcing. Okay, let's take a high-stakes example. Imagine a really seasoned diplomat. International negotiations, lots of tension.
Okay.
You know the type calm, doesn't seem flustered? The Tao Te Ching says the sage is hesitant as if fording a river. How does that apply? Sounds almost weak.
But it's not weakness at all. Think about fording a river. You test each step, feel the current. It's extreme care.
Ah, okay.
So the diplomat chooses words with that same care, knowing each one creates ripples. It's deliberate, precise, not barging in. It's about avoiding actions that might, close off possibilities.
That makes sense. Precision, light touch. Then there's the next line, wary as if in fear of all neighbors. That sounds a bit paranoid.
Yeah, to our ears maybe. But again, it's not paranoia. It's an acute awareness.
Awareness of what?
Of everyone's interests, their red lines, their unspoken motives, the whole field of play, seeing the entire landscape without getting biased.
So understanding the whole picture without picking sides.
Exactly. The Taoist sage ruler is meant to be impartial like that, allowing the whole process to flourish. It's about comprehensive understanding, not suspicion.
Got it. Understanding without judgment. And the last piece. The diplomat often seems, well, hard to read, unassuming. The text says murky as if turbid water. Why is being murky a strength when we value transparency?
Because, from this perspective, real influence isn't about flashing your power. It's subtle. The sage, the Tao Te Ching says, masters himself but doesn't make himself seen. They might seem undifferentiated like the ocean. Their prestige isn't built on being flashy.
So being unassuming allows things to happen more naturally.
Kind of. The best rulers, the text suggests, are the ones people barely know are there. things just work out. Influence comes from enabling, not commanding attention.
So this diplomat achieves peace not by force, but through this subtle, almost unknowable mastery. It's that Taoist idea of softness winning out.
Precisely. Like water wearing away rock. It's achieving maximum impact with minimum visible effort. Not pushing against the grain, but working with the natural flow of the situation. Realizing you can't completely control complex systems.
Act sparingly, let things unfold. That's quite a different model of influence.
Yeah.
Okay, let's switch gears. Think about a master artisan. Maybe a woodworker, someone with decades of experience.
Ah, yes. A great example.
Their tools might be old, worn, techniques passed down. They embody that principle of being worn and not new made.
Right. They're not chasing the latest gadget or trend. They trust what works, what has been proven through, actual practice over time. It's that accumulated know-how.
Like the Taoist value for uncarved wood. Simple, essential.
Exactly. Resisting the urge for the flashy or impressive.
But here's the paradox, isn't it? With each piece they make, they are newly made in a way. They pour all that experience into something fresh. How does that fit?
That's the constant renewal part of Taoist process thinking. Life isn't static. It's always flowing.
Like currents in a river.
Yeah. So by using the deep wisdom, the artisan is constantly renewed in their work. They're not imposing a rigid idea onto the wood.
They're drawing out its nature.
Exactly. It's a relationship, a dialogue with the material. They shape it, but it shapes them too. It's dynamic.
And their workshop. It might be murky with sawdust, maybe not super tidy, not a sterile lab.
Right. Humble surroundings.
But from that murkiness comes these objects of incredible clarity, beauty. It shows that mastery isn't about perfect appearances, is it?
No, it's about the authentic process, the substance. That murkiness is like the sage's hidden quality again. The focus is inward, on the craft, not the outward show. Their greatness is that blend. Deep wisdom, constantly renewing itself. Quiet power.
Unpretentious mastery. I like that. Okay, this is where it gets, well, really practical for everyone listening. We've seen these examples.
The diplomat, the artisan.
Now, how can you apply this? We've got a behavioral experiment for you. It's simple, but quite powerful. We're calling it the 80% fullness practice.
And this ties directly back to that core Tao Te Ching idea. Desiring not to be full. And also being worn and not new made.
Because our culture pushes us, right, towards 100%, towards perfection. And it leads to burnout, always feeling like you need to do more.
That relentless striving, it's exhausting.
So this practice is about intentionally leaving some white space, stopping before you hit that 100% fullness.
Because the Tao Te Ching warns that peak perfection is right next door to decline. Reversal is the movement of the Tao.
Right. So staying slightly not full keeps you vital, prevents that burnout, that decline. It's like acting sparingly in your own life, not taxing yourself needlessly. I know I over-edit emails sometimes or overthink simple plans.
We all do it. It's that feeling that just one more tweak will make it perfect.
But this practice is about resisting that. So how do you do it? It's easy. Pick one low-risk task this week, something you tend to overdo.
Like replying to an email that isn't urgent, tidying up a room, making a simple meal.
Yeah, something every day. Before you start, tell yourself, my goal is 80% well, or just good enough, not perfect.
Right.
Then do the task. And when you get to that point, maybe 80% done, where you feel that urge.
That itch to tweak, to rephrase that sentence again, or align those books perfectly.
Exactly. That's the moment. Consciously. Just stop.
And the task right there.
Accept its imperfection. Let it be good enough.
The goal is simple, really. It's practicing resisting that urge for total fullness, for perfectionism.
It's about accepting being worn or simple in that task. And notice this is key. Notice how much mental energy you save.
Realizing that 80% often solves 100% of the actual need anyway.
Yeah.
You conserve your energy, your kill.
It's liberating. And it fights that impulse to just keep accumulating more. More effort, more stuff, more complexity than needed.
Which the Tao Te Ching sees as counterproductive to real ease and contentment.
So let's bring it all together. These masters, Lao Tzu describes the diplomat, the artisan. They might look hesitant, murky, maybe even limited from a conventional view.
But that's their strength, their survival wisdom. They get that hitting the peak means the next step is down.
So they choose consciously to remain in that state of not fullness.
And that brings us to that powerful line from the chapter. It is because he is not full that he can be worn and not new made.
Because they're never finished, never complacent, they can keep evolving, shed the old, bring in the new. It's a kind of eternal vitality.
A constant flow, integrating change instead of fighting it. Rigid perfection can't do that.
Okay, So we've explored this idea of not being full. But now, Lao Tzu takes it even further in the next chapter. He proposes something, well, even more radical for cultivation.
Mm-hmm. He claims there's a way to grasp the ultimate truth, to get this sort of God's eye view, impartial, tolerant.
And even to be safe throughout your life sounds pretty good, right? The supreme state?
It does. But the starting point he gives is, well, it's startlingly simple, almost weird.
What is it?
He says it just requires you to attain the utmost in emptiness and hold firm to the basis of stillness.
Emptiness and stillness. That leads to the ultimate substance and safety. How?
That's the question, isn't it? Why does extreme emptiness lead to ultimate substance? Why does profound stillness let you perceive the deepest movement?
What's the secret connection there? How do you get from emptiness and stillness to enduring peace and insight?
Well, that's what we'll try to crack next time. We're going to tackle, perhaps, the most central mystery of the Tao Te Ching, the relationship between emptiness and the eternal.
Definitely something to ponder until then. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
You'll find out next time.